Let's go to the Maine Geo Library, download a new shapefile, and query that shapefile to find a specific kind of data. We want to go to the Maine Geo Library, maine.gov, and from there, Data, GeoLibrary Data Catalog. We want the layer for conserved lands. We could scroll through or just Control F search for conserved. Maine Conserved Lands. Why do we have two? I don't know. I just downloaded both. They seem to be the same. So go ahead and click on this icon here. That's the shapefile download. Once you have the zip file downloaded, go ahead and extract all. I'm going to save this to my C drive. You must not do that. If you're working in the GIS lab, you need to use your Google Drive file stream. I'm already in my GIS 300 week 2, so I'm going to select folder and extract. Now in QGIS, I can go into my C drive, GIS NT, GIS 300, week number 2, Maine Conserved Lands, double click, or drag and drop. Now this shows all conserved lands, including lands that have conservation easements that restrict the use of the land, but don't set it aside entirely. For example, a conservation easement might say that you can't build houses, but you can practice forestry. Let's look at the attribute table for this and see what we have. Right-click, open attribute table. I'm going to expand this so we can see what we're looking at. We have the landholder name, whether it's private, state, federal, or municipal, town. Let's see what else we have. Public access, yes or no, contact landowner, allowed for general uses, contact owner, restricted, purpose. Not all of these have a purpose set, but some of them do. Some of them have an IF&W ID, Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Not all of them do. Scroll all the way to the right here. We have some notes. We have some status, permanently protected, temporary easements, different categories. Any of these things we could display by their category. Let's try showing all of these by their gap status. Close. Double-click on Maine Conserved Lands. Instead of single symbol, display by categories, where the value is our gap status, classify. So this is going to be our key. This orange is permanent protection for biodiversity, red, permanent protection to maintain a primarily natural state, and so on and so forth. If you want to change one of those, just go ahead and double-click. I'm fine with that for now, so OK, OK. Now I don't need to see any of these other data sets, so I can just uncheck them and minimize that so I can see just what's going on here, and I don't even need to see lakes and ponds right now because that's a confusing color. So here we see most of Baxter State Park is permanent protection for biodiversity. And this looks like the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument. We can use our Identify Features tool. Go ahead and click on that with that selected. We do have the Katahdin Woods and Waters Monument here. Hold one name, U.S. Department of Interior. Let's zoom in on something a little closer to home. Here's Diboulie. So this would be the bounds of the reserved area. They have sort of an ecological reserve around the major ponds here, and then the working forest. And see, as I hover over it, it tells me the owner, Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands. That's a handy feature. Let's go ahead and click on that, and we have Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands with the hold one name, parcel name, Great Northern Nakusa Corporation. So the history of these Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands parcels, these whole townships, came from the public lots that were reserved to the state in every single township in the unorganized part of the state. So for every township there was supposed to be a certain amount of land reserved for a school and I think for a church and the pastor's house. Because most of the townships were never actually settled, those acreages were never actually laid out, never surveyed. Eventually it was realized that these parcels existed and at the same time didn't exist. Rather than claiming 1,000 or 2,000 acres for every township for the state, a deal was struck so that some of the more important townships around major lakes and ponds could be reserved to the state. So that's where Diboulie and Eagle Lake and Round Pond came from. Here's Round Pond with the Allagash Wilderness Waterway running through it, and that township there also belongs to the people of the state of Maine. And likewise there's Eagle Lake. Now I'm going to show you one of the most common operations, and that is to select a certain kind of data that you want with an attribute query, and then export a new data set that is only that data type. So I want to select those features, those polygons, that belong to the Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands. Right-click, Open Attribute Table, and we are going to select features using an expression. We're going to say where hold one name space like space single quotation mark percentage sign capital M Maine space capital B Bureau percentage sign close single quotes. So this will select anything that starts with Maine Bureau, and I could have done without that. Same result. Select feature, and with the sign there, select feature, same result. With that selection made, let's close this, expand this so we can read, and see Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands. There's no other Maine Bureau of, so I'm safe to search for anything that starts Maine Bureau. Now I can see I've got all these selected. I'm going to close the attribute table, and there they are in yellow. Now I've selected them, I've identified them, but I want to have a whole data set that is nothing but the Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands. So I'm going to right-click on Maine Conserved Lands, Export, Save Features As, and check the box for Save Only Selected Features. Now I need to give it a file name and location, so I'm going to hit those three dots. Now I shouldn't just type a name in here, I have to go to the three dots and then select the location I want it to save, then give it a name, then hit save here. That populates that field. And I'm also noticing this is in WGS 1984, which again is the native language of the GPS satellite network and a good data format for data storage, but when we're calculating areas we need to have a projected coordinate system. So I'm going to click the drop down here. Because I already have other layers with this loaded in, I can just select NAD 83 UTM zone 19 north. And from there, I can just hit OK. And now I can uncheck the original Maine Conserved Lands, and there is all the BPL hold one name. Now I want to know more about this. What is this big parcel down here? Let's go ahead and identify features. Click on that. And here we have the Katahdin Forest easement. That means that even though Maine BPL holds the easement, we don't own the land. And when I say we there, I'm referring to the people of the state of Maine. Let's go ahead and click on this other township here, Maine Bureau of Parks and Lands. This one has the designation public land. So my goal is to show only the BPL land that is actually Maine public land. I'm going to do another query on Maine BPL, so the one we just exported. Right-click, Open Attribute Table, and select features using an expression. And this time I'm going to use the designation field, which is shortened to designatio. Type in designatio, double-click to finish, and this time I'm going to use an equals, which is valid, single open quotes, public, capital P, L, capital L, land, single quotes, select features. Close this, and we see we have easements, state parks, coastal islands, municipal parks, and other things that are still hold one name, Maine BPL, but now I've selected only the Maine BPL public land. And now we want to view only those and have a data set that is only this Maine BPL public land. Right-click, Export, Save Feature As, Save Only Selected Features. Hit these three dots, Week 2, Maine BPL public land.shp. Enter, Save, UTM Zone 19 North. Got the only selected features. OK, and there we go. So now I can make a map. I'm going to uncheck Maine BPL. I can change this to whatever color I like. Simple fill, I'm going to say a completely transparent stroke there. And I want that to be something that looks like a nice public lands green there. Okay, there we go. So now we can select this, use our Select by Rectangle tool, click, hold, drag, release a box around the whole state of Maine, and then use our Show Statistical Summary tool. And we are going to want to make sure it's pointed at the Maine BPL public land, looking at the attribute, calculated acres, and we have a sum of 633,769 acres of Maine BPL public land. Now let's go ahead and clear that selection there and zoom back in. And likewise, if I just want the area of all the parts of Dabooley Township, I can select Features Only, sum 21,473.5 acres. Now if you look closely at Dabooley, you'll see this line going along here, so there's actually several different parts making up this whole. Let's close that. I want to know the area for all of these together. So close that, or cancel is what it wants to hear. And then select, click, hold, drag, release, selected. Make sure I have selected features only, 21,473.5 acres.